Welcome back to This Week. Time now to get the views of our media and political experts, Nashville Democratic State Representative Brenda Gilmore and syndicated talk show host Steve Gill. Welcome. Nice to see you both.
Thank you.
A little bit of good news as we go into the first week of fall coming up here. Jobs in Springhill, some more jobs here in Middle Tennessee. We always were hoping that something would happen with the Springhill GM plant. It looks like at least temporarily or in short term there is going to be some work down there.
Yeah, I think it's good news, the 483 or so of jobs there, the Lowe's deal downtown, the Medical Mart downtown. I mean, you're getting some I guess, blooms in the spring, hopefully, of some recovery. There's still a lot of missing jobs. And the key in a place like Springhill is it's not just the direct jobs you lose, it's all the secondary jobs of folks in the McDonald's, folks in the retail stores in the community that also lose their jobs when you lose those big jobs. So you've got a lot to still make up, but it's certainly a move in the right direction.
I think people are ecstatic about it, and to hear the news that they're bringing this many jobs back into the community, this much resource, and in addition, we begin to see a little bit of balance with our sales tax revenues, so I think this is good news for Middle Tennessee.
For you and the legislature and the new governor, is jobs going to be the number one issue, trying to even lower the unemployment even more?
It is. I think that budget is just going to be a challenge. You know, we're talking about now that there still may be almost $1 million hole that they're going to have to fill, and we've reduced the staff of state employees 3 times in the last 4 years. So we're glad to see jobs come back to Tennessee.
Yeah, and I think that the hope is that you can continue that momentum. We're fortunate here in the South, in a lot of these communities, where we're seeing some of the movement, even from the Rust Belt, continuing to come here. We've got more diverse economies. I mean, while you've got Springhill that was so dependent on that car plant, here in Middle Tennessee, we've got the music industry, we've got the publishing industry, we've got the automotive industry, the healthcare industry. You've got a lot more bets to place, and some of them are going to hit.
We saw the first debate of the gubernatorial race for the fall, and there was a lot of discussion about the budgets. Bill Haslam talking about that hole you were talking about. Mike McWhorter saying things may not be as dire as Bill Haslam is saying, so some separation there. And I guess the real point, too, is that he was, for the first time, McWhorter kind of coming out with some momentum, coming out firing some criticism that we had not seen in the past.
Well, I think Bill Haslam has a different strategy at this point. He's leading significantly in the polls. He's getting ready to govern, and he needs to lay the groundwork that it's going to be tough. He needs to be reaching out across the aisle to Democrats, Independents, and Republicans to start thinking ahead. And I know you don't do it till after the election, but he is already laying the groundwork, I think, for how you govern. And he is right. It is going to be a very, very, very tough budget next year, and I think most legislators would agree with that.
I think that they're beginning to try to differentiate between themselves, because everything that we read in the media and everything that we see, I have to admit, it seems that those guys are more alike than they are different. They're both businessmen, and they're both, have worked through their dad's businesses. They're both very business-focused, and so the debate, I think, showed us that they're trying to show some differences between their candidacies.
We saw more discussion about the mosque in Murfreesboro, the Islamic Center in Murfreesboro, another show of support and opposition yesterday down in Murfreesboro. And both sides, strong opposition, strong support for it, but a lot of people on both sides. How does this issue get resolved? It is legal for them. They're going ahead and moving forward, but is this divide always going to be there?
Well, I think there's going to be a divide, mainly because of what Islam directs in fundamental Islam. It's not a matter of that you can just kind of ignore what the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah say and say it is a religion of peace and tolerance when you look at what Islam dictates. I, however, though, see a dramatic difference in the Ground Zero Mosque and the problems there and the Murfreesboro area. We need to get the facts of where's the money coming from, who's actually running the mosque in Murfreesboro, so you can decide whether or not it should be an issue.
And we don't know
and right
that
now
yet.
There's a lot of outrage, but let's get the facts first. But by the same token, the Murfreesboro mosque folks need to start being a little bit more forthcoming and transparent about where the money's coming from, about who's actually running their mosque, because there are mosques in this country that have been proponents of terrorism. The only way you distinguish between the, quote, good mosques and the bad mosques is by looking at where the money comes from, where the support comes from, who is running the operation, and we don't know that about Murfreesboro.
And there's a real belief that the mosque in New York is more about symbolism than anything else.
It is about symbolism, but it's also got very strong direct ties to people who are not the Friends of America, who are, again, the evil money that we've seen in other mosques that have promoted the same sort of folks like Nidal Hassan, the shooter at Fort Hood, the underwear bomber in Detroit, the Times Square bomber, the 9/11 terrorist, all came from a mosque in the Northern Virginia area. Many of the same folks involved in the New York mosque have ties to those exact same people.
Two separate issues.
I think that politicians and other people are using this as a springboard to bring attention to their candidacies and to their campaigns. Most of these mosques, they were already worshiping in smaller facilities. And so now all they're doing is enlarging it. It's not like they're new to the community. Mm-hmm. They were already in the community. They just simply go into a larger facility. So they have the law on their sides. I think that they have the local zoning on their sides. And as Christians, I think that we should be tolerant of other religions.
Part of the problem with the New York mosque, though, is you've got a Greek Orthodox church that was destroyed on 9/11 when the buildings collapsed upon it. It's been 9 years. They have not been able to rebuild as a Christian Greek Orthodox church on the site where they were, and yet you're fast-tracking this mosque. That's what tells you that it is not about fairness or zoning or anything else. It's about promoting a religion over other religions, and that's what I think has people upset.
And I think other people, too, are also preying on Americans' fears. During the time when you have economic recessions like we're having now, when job unemployment is extremely high, then I think it causes us to turn on each other, and which is really very unfortunate, because I'm really sorry that we begin to promote people's fears and their insecurities when at the time we should be working together.
I think the problem, though, is if you're promoting fears and insecurities that are not based on reality, you would be exactly right. If I keep warning you about the boogeyman under your bed and there's no boogeyman, then I'm preying on your fears. If there's a boogeyman under your bed and I'm warning you about him, then I think that's a legitimate warning. And we are seeing radical Islam promote terrorism within our country, recruit individuals, convert individuals in this country, send them to Yemen, send them to Pakistan, and bring them back to kill people here. It is not a bogus fear. It's a legitimate warning, and I think we ought to pay attention.
The real terrorists.
Brenda Gilmore, we're out of time. We appreciate your time and your insight. Stay with us. This week continues in a moment.